Hey, we've had it cut like 5 or 6 times by all kinds of big people that you never heard of.
I mean, Greg and I have written a couple of songs together. I've written 50 plus songs with Kris, so if you see me giving him the business up here, it's deserved.
Well, I guess we're going to start off in the business end of things, just talking about, how things have changed in the past 10, 15 years. Everything went to, when the computer finally lit up and the internet took off, a lot of our money went with it. That's what happened. But there are other ways that they're finding, to monetize money on the internet. So the main thing that's changed, I think, is just how much the digital domain has come in and has really just kind of changed our income. And we want to talk about that a little bit and just say, when I first came to Nashville, for instance, a hit song, we'd make just a cut on a record was $150,000. On a great record, and that substantially dwindled because it went down to probably 50,000, 60 or 70,000. Just like that much of a hit we took on that. So, but Jim, chime in.
Yeah, I didn't make any money before the internet, so I can't speak much. But you can look at the research; it's all out there, and there's a great report or two that just came out in the last few months about what has happened, really in the last 10 years, with the sale and distribution and licensing money of music. It went down. It got a lot tougher. And when I first started going to Nashville 15 years ago, I think there were a lot more staff songwriters working for publishing companies than there are today. When I mean a lot, I mean probably 3 times as many. I think the number has shrunken incredibly, but you know, somebody's going to do it.
That's right.
So you know, my attitude was, you know, I wasn't going for the bottom third. I wasn't going for the middle third. I was going for it, you know, and so that top third is going to remain no matter what. And you know, the game is what it is. It changes, but you know, if you're a professional in whatever your business is, you play the game that's on the table, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do every day up there. The love that I brought for the crafting of lyrics and all that, it's what sustains me as the styles change, as the money goes up and down. You know, what Kris was saying about that love of wanting to learn how to write the best song you can is the thing that really gets you up out of bed in the morning, not the idea of a paycheck or the reality of a paycheck. So, I mean, the things have changed. Things have changed a lot, but one thing remains constant, and that's my love for the craft. And when that goes away, then I'll walk away, not when the money dries up.
And like you said, you know, you got to love doing this to do it. You have to really, you know, dig in and know it's a long process. So you just keep doing it every day. I get up every day and I write songs. I mean, sometimes 2 or 3 a day. I mean, whatever, you know, just keep hammering just because, you know, I hate to say it's a law of averages, but it is a law of average. But you got to have your average up here. You got to be writing great songs, and it's a skill that I learned when I went to Nashville. When you know, I was just writing songs, just thinking, you know, when I was living here, because the band needed songs. You know what I mean? I didn't know you could make money at it, and I really didn't feel that way. And you know, I just wrote songs for the love of writing songs. I really enjoyed the process of loving hearing the band play the song, and you know, it'd come to life. You know, it was pretty cool. But when I went to Nashville, I found out quickly that it was a skill and a craft that you have to learn. It's a certain way they do things in Nashville. Now, LA is different, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. LA and New York, I've lived in both places and written pop songs and done stuff for places like that as well. So, but for Nashville, it was just going up there. I had to get with guys who were, you know, like Frank Dykes and guys that were absolute, you know, just dyed-in-the-wool country writers. I got around those guys and I learned how to write. They taught me, hey, that's not what somebody would say, or that's not the right sort of, you know, and they were very, very cool about telling me that. But I'd get in there and I'd just, you know, try to, you know, write the best lyric I knew how to write, and they would correct me, and I learned and I listened. And that's the thing, it's you know, you got to listen to everything. It's kind of, you know, the thing of like, you know, some people don't know what they're talking about, but you just have to listen anyway, you know, but you have to get it in your head to listen, you know, and that was a hard thing for me to do because I thought for sure, man, I knew what I was doing, and they quickly backed me up and took the pride out of me, but which I needed, so. Anyway.
It's fun to work with a guy like that, though, full of all that energy. You know, as the older songwriters in the room now, I would imagine, we get to work with a lot of young guys who are new to town, who may not know all the protocols, but they've got new energy. And that's a thrill.
Well, they have the language of today, and that's one of the things that I struggle with. As you grow up as a writer, when you're 18, 15 to 25, even as a person, you own the radio. All the commercials are targeted towards you. They want you to buy the truck because you hear a truck commercial, you want that truck so bad you'll do anything for it. So you kind of own the radio. Well, as you get older, they're still targeting those 25-year-olds. And as you get older, then all of a sudden the music, their language changes a little bit. So I try to work with a lot of young people because they do have that energy, plus they have that language. And this technique of songwriting, the actual idea of the way stories are told, hasn't really changed much in a few thousand years. So if you can learn how to tell a story, great. And then get with somebody that really has that, vernacular of what's going on today, it can really be a great combination. And so when I was a kid, there was 40 top 40 country songs on the radio, there's 40 top 40 pop songs, and there's still that many. And
that's the slots we all vie for. I mean, there's, you know, how many people in Nashville vying for that spot on the radio, you know what I mean? And it's also politically, very politically put together too as well. Like, people have kind of formed their groups, and you have to kind of, you know, you just have to be, you know, but that being said, a great song still cuts through. If you got a great song, man, they're going to know it. They're going to, well, that's a great song. You know what I mean? So the song always gets respect in Nashville, especially. And the thing is, it's just like, it's any given day, it's really, that's the way you got to think about it.
It could be.
Any given day, right? And what you got to do is you got to kind of just keep writing those songs so you know the gems, and the people around you are going, man, it's a great song, and we'll talk about this a little later about, writing something you remember and those kind of things, but anyway. I want to talk a little bit too also about just listening to everything. That's the other thing. One thing that keeps us fresh and everybody else fresh that are great writers is to listen to everything with an open mind. I mean, when I'm not listening to country radio, I'm listening to rock radio, and I'm listening to turn it over and I listen to just simply I'll listen to NPR or something. I'll listen to different things. I just listen to every kind of thing I can get my head in, and so you just have to have an open mind and listen to everything, and that's the most important thing. That's what's going to give you make your stuff a little different, because you don't know sometimes where an influence is going to come from. It may come from an old rock song you heard or something, and you got that kind of thing, and that could be the next big thing in country music. We were at the Songwriter Festival down here this year in Key West, and a lot of the new bands that are coming up are like this old 70s, and it's going to be like the next phase. You can see it coming. It's like the next. It's like 70s Eagles, things that we listened to when we were young, it's like kind of cool, it's like, that's just kind of making a comeback with a new kind of touch on it, with a new shine on it, the country shine on it. So that's what's kind of coming down the pike, so.
Yacht rock.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you got it, man. Yeah. And the other thing, too, you got to keep ahead of, when you're writing, you listen to the radio and what's on the radio, that's what's going on now. That's already been done. So you got to think ahead of the market. You got to kind of guess and say, okay, what's going to be next? What's this artist going to want next? Because he's not going to keep doing the same thing. He's going to want to morph into something and grow, you know what I mean? So you got to think of what's next, and you got to think adventurously there. So, anyway.
You do. I mean, you're going to find us contradicting ourselves and each other all morning here, because it's nothing if not a big ball of contradictions pursuing a career in songwriting, in popular songwriting, because as soon as we tell you got to stay current and all that, you're lost at sea if you're not staying true to what your heart's telling you is the message of the song and how it feels to you honestly, privately, whether it's the lyric or the style or the presentation of it. It's a tricky thing to kind of use your own measuring instruments for whether or not the song is well written, it's going well as you write it, whether or not you're telling the truth in a meaningful, beautiful kind of way with your lyric, and then also to keep one eye on the market and what the machine wants. We are commercial songwriters. We do not write, for ourselves or for the coffee house performance on Sunday afternoon. It's a very competitive game, so we have to stay focused on that. But at the same time, none of those songs have the power that they're going to have if we don't have a bit of truth and beauty in there in a really well formed kind of way, well structured kind of way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely does. Yeah.
One of the things that I always try to do is write a song for Tim McGraw. Not necessarily write one that I thought he wanted to sing, but one that I wanted him to sing. And so sometimes I was successful one time. But hey, if you're successful one time, it means it can happen again, right? So if you look at an artist, and I kind of look at it as a musical sometimes, like if you're writing a musical and you got 20 different characters. Well, if you're writing songs for Nashville, you got about 20 characters and they're slightly different, and so they need different types of songs. So if you could take what's in your heart, and you get a title that kind of fits for Jason Aldean or Tim McGraw or whoever else is out there, you go, oh, this would be good for them. Let me go guide this just a little bit that way. Just cheat a little bit here and there, but still keep it true to what you would be proud of saying, or...
I love that. Kris shared that analogy with me a long time ago, and it was very useful. It's worth repeating. And tell me if I've mangled it over the years.
You probably fixed it.
But he told me, he said, think of Nashville's cast of characters as a Broadway show, and you've got 4 leads in the show. Tim McGraw. Right now, it's Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean, Miranda Lambert. Pick your other one. Okay, whatever. Well. Just, in terms of writing for the market, just think in those categories. And no offense to the other artists, but you know, the others, while they also have their own careers, you can think of them in terms of as understudies of the lead characters. So that if Tim McGraw doesn't take it, Tim doesn't take it, Gary Allen's a great candidate for it, or Dierks Bentley might be. You know what I mean? So it's kind of break it down structurally like that, so it just doesn't look overwhelming or confusing to you. And then you realize, like, okay, this is simpler than I thought it was. It's going to be harder than you thought it was too, but at least you get the simpler part.
Yeah, well, it's like I probably had 10 cuts trying to write for Tim McGraw, because other people wanted to be Tim McGraw. The new guys who were in town, they wanted to be Tim McGraw, so they'd have it say, oh, that sounds like it could be Tim McGraw, and so then they would cut it. So that's what.
And the thing is, you know, most of these artists, you know, they just want great songs, man. They want you to bring them a killer song. I mean, it's, you know, a lot of times you'll write something for an artist. You'll say, that's, you know, I'm aiming this at Tim, or I'm aiming this at so-and-so, and it falls where somebody else likes it. You know what I mean? It's just, you'll try to target right for somebody, and it never, you know, target writing for me has never really been too successful. I mean, I may have had one thing that we wrote that got on the record, but most of the time to write a song, it finds its home elsewhere, you know what I mean? So, but you know, that's Nashville in a nutshell. You know, talking a little bit about LA and New York. I lived in both places and we worked out there. When I was in LA, you know, writing pop songs is a whole different ballgame. It's still about writing great songs, but it's about being creative and being a lot more poetic with the lyric. I mean, they're more poetic. I mean, I guess they would write out, you know, they might be starting off like, for instance, like I'll come up with something. You are there, and I am here, and we are nowhere. You know, just it's like kind of stream of consciousness lyric. It's not really so what do you call it, literal. You know, country's more of a literal realm, and it's great. It's great. It's thank God I went to Nashville first, because that was such a great training ground. Because if you can't write literal, you're gonna have a problem writing artistically, you know, and getting out in the wind. First, you have to know the ground rules and you know, that kind of thing. And so once you get out there and you write with these guys, they're throwing stuff every which way, and you just gotta come up with it and follow it and throw ideas out. Also, I want to talk a little bit too about co-writing. You know, and co-writing is kind of a sensitive topic for people sometimes. You know, they don't want it's my baby, and I've got this idea, and I'm going to bring it to somebody, and they're going to help me write it. What happens with co-writing? We look at it as a community editing experience. We get in a room, and when two or more people write songs together, it becomes sort of like a community edit. We can all think collectively as like the community, and we still maintain the things we contribute to the song. But the other thing we don't do in Nashville, and there's nobody who does this in Nashville. We're not proprietary about this is our idea. We come into a room, we go, boom, this is our idea, and throw it out there, and sometimes it may not be the best song, and sometimes it come out of the room and be a great song. But the thing is that we don't treat them like our babies. We're not afraid to say stupid things, get in a room and just belt out something stupid. Oh, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, or whatever. Yeah. I mean, but it's like nobody really, you know, so there's some eye rolling going on sometimes, you know.
Yeah, it's respectful.
Yeah, it's respectful, but it's fun, you know. So.
We're ruthless editors.
Right,
We're
exactly.
ruthless on the
Absolutely.
material, because we all go in there, and you know, we're all aiming for the same target. We know what the market is. I know, and right now many of you are thinking, well, that just sounds like you're watering down a good idea, writing by committee and like that. But the thing is, if you have a room with a couple or three people who are focused professionals and understand what it means to stay artistic and commercial and to get down that road to finish a song together, it's a very helpful thing in the composition process. It's also a helpful thing because you share the cost of the demo, which runs about $1,000. And then it's a helpful thing because he writes for publisher A, he writes for publisher B, and I write for publisher C. So all of a sudden you have three salespeople out there on the street trying to get Tim McGraw to cut that song. So there's a lot of practical reasons. And the other reason is it's a lot more, it's easier to cancel an appointment with just yourself than it is if you got to show up at 10 o'clock to meet Greg, because he will hunt you down if you don't show. But, you know, I mean, it keeps you, when you're writing every day, that co-writing thing helps sustain you on the days when you might not have all the energy you want.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you're riding the bus, you know, sometimes you go in and you go, oh, you got 2 words you contributed to a song. You know, the way we look at that in Nashville is anytime 3 people in a room, it's 33, 33, 33. There's no, we don't sit there and count words or
counting lines.
No, we don't do that. We just come up and it's an experience. We come into it. You know, Nashville doesn't work that way. Neither, you know, LA sometimes works that way, but people are usually it's usually frowned upon. It's not really a thing to, you know. You know, I was reading this thing just recently where the newest thing. You know, of course, I was a little bit part of this as it was starting, but we were reading this last night about, you know, what's called a top liner. You know, a lyricist goes out or that has a lyricist that can sing a melody would go out with a guy who programs, a guy who puts together stuff in a computer and programs a track. Well, the guy who programs the track now gets 50% of the song because he programmed the song. And then they call you in, they audition a bunch of guys that are writers to come in and put different, what they call top lines on the song. And then the best one wins, or they'll take bits and pieces of, and that's why you got 10 writers on the song or 8 writers on the song. Well, nobody really makes a lot of money that way in the business. I mean, you know, it's kind of like you have to write a lot of songs to make money that way. So, and even in the pop world, it's kind of a rough deal. But that's going to change here because that's not really a sustainable kind of thing. People are going to get tired of that real quick.
The track guy makes a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, the track is not the song. You know, the melody and the lyric is the copyright part.
But you know, the bottom line is it all starts with a great song anyway. You know, so that's you know, people forget about us as songwriters because you know we're not a loud bunch. We're quiet, we work in rooms, we get out there. Now we're getting louder and louder because we have a lobby in Washington and things are happening, and you know, but it used to be, for the longest time, we were a pretty quiet crowd, and we didn't say anything about, you know, what was going on. But now we're speaking up about it and reclaiming a lot of stuff. So.
Yeah, are any of you members of NSAI?
Cool.
Okay. The Nashville Songwriters Association International is a great organization for you as a songwriter. They offer a lot of song camps. They offer a lot of programs that you can interact with from Louisiana to their home office in Nashville. We've got a chapter in New Orleans run by a real friendly guy named Dan. And I encourage all of you to seek them out on the web, nashvillesongwriters.org, and to go to a workshop that Dan hosts in New Orleans once a month, I think, and to go up to Nashville and go to one of their song camps. There's so much that you will learn that'll just happen by being there, because you'll be with people who are focused like you on this idea of being a songwriter from outside of the songwriting mecca. So how do you do that? How do you do that trick from far away? And then the professionals that they have working at NSAI are very helpful, and they're all about giving something back, which is how most of us got where we are. Somebody put a hand out and helped us up along the way. So
That's what I was sorry, actually.
NSAI, go check it out.
Big time.
There's a lot of people in this room for this size of town that are coming out to hear about songwriting. And it really kind of blows me away that there's so much interest in something that everybody says is dying. And I don't believe that it is. I don't think it ever will. It's been around for a long time. I think it's going to be here for a long time. And I would encourage y'all to introduce yourselves to each other and really get to know some other people. And not everybody's going to match up in co-writing. There's going to be people that you just don't see it the same way. It's kind of like dating. But there'll be some of you that can work together and grow and wind up going to Nashville together, sending your songs together, make a trip to, like me and my friend Gordon did, go to Nashville, meet a couple people, go to one of those seminars together. What did you learn? What did you learn? And you'd be surprised how much your brain has to offer the world. And you can find that by writing songs.
You know, and eventually, I want to talk about this a little bit. It was a little bit later on, but I mentioned in an interview in the paper when I was talking to the reporter. You know, I mentioned about New Orleans being such a great center of music, and I grew up in such, we're a music city. We're the music city that got kind of forgotten about a little bit, in the fray of the business end of things. But it was big in the 50s. There's stuff coming out of here like crazy in the 50s and in the 60s. But it just kind of died off as far as the music business, And one of the things that we're hoping to do, Jim and I were talking, and another friend of ours, we were talking about trying to recreate this business down here and try to use it, try to lean on the shoulders of giants that are like Los Angeles, Nashville, New York. Bring those guys in as mentors and see how they do things, and let New Orleans become its own sort of entity again in the world of music, because it's worldwide. I mean, if I go over to England or I go to Italy to play and I say I'm from New Orleans, it blows their mind. Oh, you're from New Orleans? Well, tell me, they know all about it. They'll tell me, they'll tell me all about our music. You know what I mean? Because they know everything and they listen to stuff. And a matter of fact, WWOZ is the 5th largest, or a while back was the 5th largest. Internet radio station in the world listened to. People in the Mercedes-Benz plant in Germany are listening to WWOZ. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the kind of power of New Orleans music and that New Orleans has in the world, and needs to step up and own it. And we're going to try to help create that infrastructure over time, to where you won't have to go to Nashville. You come down to a studio here and do a demo, and we'll still be on the same page as Nashville, and we'll have the same copacetic things that we can, work together on. So it'll be like Sister City kind of thing, is what we're looking at. But we'll talk more about that later. Yeah, my next topic. You guys got any ideas, or want to talk about anything, or you feel? Right.
I was going to ask one question. How many people in here play piano or guitar or an instrument?
Cool.
Okay, so those of you that write lyrics, look at those hands and pay close attention, because it's very valuable.
Yeah.
Very valuable.
Yeah, because you want to partner up with somebody who plays and make sure you're.
It's so fun, and it's fun to have. The reason why I like to write with 3 people is because I don't play and I don't sing harmony. If I could play and sing harmony, writing with 2 people, just being Greg would be great. But man, Greg and Jim can sing the song and they can sing it together. Both of them play the guitars, do different parts, and it's so much fun to be in the room and have that action, live action happening.
We're going to talk about some alternative ways. If you're how many of you guys are performing songwriters out here? You go around and play. Cool, great. As a performing songwriter, you can build your own world these days. It's great. The internet's the best thing that happened. It's the worst thing and the best thing. But the best part of it is you can go worldwide, and if you play your cards right, and you get out there and you use your social media, stay on it. Facebook every day. Make sure you tweet all the time. Let people know you're present. Have to be present to win here, as far as that goes. But what you want to do, man, is if you guys are interested in becoming performing songwriters, or you guys that sing and play, you want to go to writers' nights. You want to go out and play around and get out and start getting your chops together, getting your vocal and your guitar chops together. Make sure you can get out there and entertain and be truly entertaining. And play your, don't be afraid to play your songs. Don't be afraid of what people say about your songs. Don't, you have a right to do this. You have a license to do it. The minute you chose to do it, you have a license to do it. And for the longest time, I felt like, well, maybe I should, when I was younger, I kind of was like, well, I don't know about me stepping out and doing this. But when I stepped out, and people validated me and said, wow, you got something, and I went on with it and did it, and did it to the best of my ability. But don't be afraid to write songs, and I would say, just get regional. Go to Mississippi, go to the Gulf Coast. Don't just stay in the New Orleans area. Just get out and around. And the best way to do this is to find you 8 to 10 places to play that you do a circuit. This is how people get big. This is how we were talking about Hootie and the Blowfish earlier. These guys, what they did was they formed a circuit, and they kept going around and around and doing the same circuit. This is the secret. Elvis did this. All these people did this. It's like the secret sauce of getting famous as a performing songwriter. You find 8 to 10 clubs, say 8 clubs, and in the 9th week you're back at another club again. That's the first club again. You just keep adding new songs to your repertoire. You keep doing this over and over again. This is a guaranteed formula. If you're good and you're worth your salt, you'll draw people and it'll compound. And people will start coming. 10 people tell 10 people will And that's how people get popular and blow up. And then you mind your Facebook. You make sure you're telling everybody where you're playing. Make sure you're tweeting all the time. That kind of stuff. So, but this is the secret sauce. They make sure you get out and play. A regional area, a wide regional area, not too wide. I'd say from Lake Charles to over to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, which is pretty wide, but you can once you can kind of go out in circles, get bigger and bigger as you get bigger, and add more clubs. So yeah,
play live, collaborate.
Yeah, that's it.
Get those email addresses when you play live if you're an artist that way,
Big
because
time.
those are so valuable. I think somebody said they were worth $2.48 a piece. Now you might sell a T-shirt to somebody here, you might sell a CD to somebody here, you might have somebody pay a cover charge here. Some people might not ever do anything, but the average is $2.48. So if you had 100,000 email addresses, you'd be making $248,000 a year.
That's right. Plus merch. If you got merch too, make sure you have merch. It could be as simple as that. You want to make it to where you don't want to make it too me-centric. You know what I mean? Like put your name on the front of a shirt, like Greg Barnhill, giant. People don't wear that. They want to wear a symbol or something cool or a logo. They want to wear. They'll buy that.
I would wear one.
Yeah. Well, I'll sell you one after the show.
Big Greg Barnhill picture.
Yeah. Right. Big picture. Okay, another thing I want to talk about too is other ways of making money as a songwriter, and not just in the market. I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats. I do library music. I do television music for television stations around the country. I do a number of things. Whatever comes down the pike for me as a songwriter, I'm there because I love the challenge of doing it, and it's a challenge. I love that throw me the ball, man, because I'm going to swing at it. One of the things, just for instance, I'll give you a crazy example. Say a while back, there was a girl I knew, and she was writing like epitaphs for a funeral home. She'd write songs for people that were like, they'd passed on, and she'd read about their lives, and she'd write a song about their lives, and would make kind of nice money doing it. If you go, it's a macabre thing to do, but she would go and write the song, and everybody appreciated it. It was like a great song. For you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, I'm just talking about you wouldn't think that would be a need, A while back I got called to do, there were these housing developments all over the country, like the Yellowstone Club, and there were, there's a bunch of these places that are high dollar housing deals, houses start at $5 million go up, $5 million would go up. Anyway, we'd go in, I'd do all the music for their welcome center. So I'd go in, I'd write a song, it'd move people, it'd be like, it'd be like, just real, goofy. It's goofy when you think about it, but you got to write something real and heartfelt. So I'd write like, home. There's nothing like it, no, anywhere where you want to be. It'd be like, just real feel good lyric and just moving, that had strings around it. It'd be like a real big production. Well, that was another way of using my song bank to write stuff for something. Commercials, jingles, Buzz Jackson and I have a company called Brand Identity Group. I did Bless You Boys for the Saints. I don't know if you guys watched that. I did Bless You Boys. I did a big thing on Fox a while back. Well, I used that as a platform. That helped me out a bunch in people knowing who I was, so I could go into a business. And say, hey, I wrote the spot for this, and so it helped us get in the door with jingles and stuff, The other thing to do, if you're worth your salt and you're a great performer, is to get on the morning television shows. Get on morning television, get on morning radio shows. There's a lot of these things around here. A lot of times they're looking for content. They're looking for somebody to come in and go, hey, play us a song. You know what I mean? If you're an up and coming songwriter and you're really aiming for being an artist and doing that as a performing songwriter, that's a good venue to do it. To get out there.
You got to be your own promotion.
That's right.
Your own publicist, and make up an occasion. If you release a new CD, then call the WWL station and ask if you can come on to promote it. If you have a song about our troops and something's going on, then call and say, can I come play that song? Just find an angle that they would want to agree with having you on for. it's all in your backyard. And the other thing I wanted to say earlier was, I don't know how many of you are trying to get songs recorded by other artists, but my first major label cut was with Kris. But long before that, I started doing it in New Orleans with bands that recorded outside material. And Kim Carson, who's a country singer, she heard me perform a song at a coffee house and wanted to record it. And that was the first time I got that feeling of what it might be like to hear other people sing my songs. That started me off trying to get songs recorded by other local bands, way before I started thinking I might go to Nashville. So I encourage you to look around your own town and find those acts. There's somebody singing at the French restaurant who's looking for a Torch song, an original Torch song. There's a rock band that doesn't have time to write all the songs that they need, and they're looking for the next funk kind of rock and roll song that they can play. So try to pitch your material to artists that you know already.
Yeah, right. If there's a great band around here, guys, and they need songs, go approach them and get, what can it hurt to have them play your song out, So, other ways, as far as, talking about, charity is a great thing you can be involved in. Charity, a lot of the stuff I did when I was coming up, I used to, before I was even at Warner, I used to open for the Neville Brothers. That's how I got my start really in New Orleans, and we would hang out with them, and they would take me, and I'd open up, a show for them, whatever. And I was green as an apple, man. I didn't know what I was doing, I just get out there and sing, and but the thing is to just make sure that you have a good base of just kind of. Just material before you get out there and stuff.
One of the things just on the Jim McCormick thing here that he said about getting a song recorded by Kim Carson, she was a friend of mine. We worked at the same radio station back in 1980. And I came down to visit her a few times, and she would play live, and she played a song called Lakeside. And I loved the song. I said, "Where'd you get that?" She said, "Jim McCormick wrote it, Jim McCormick." So finally he comes up to Nashville to meet me, and that's how we actually met, was through Kim Carson and that song Lakeside. A funny story about it is that Jim kept coming up there, and he'd have meetings, and he'd play Lakeside, and he'd play Lakeside, and he'd play Lakeside. I said, "Jim, don't ever play Lakeside again. Get some new songs." So now, how many songs do you think you've written, Jim?
Well, yeah, well over. I write 100 songs a year, easy.
And before you came to Nashville, how many songs were you writing?
I wrote 5 songs a year. Right.
He would do an album. When he got ready to do an album, he'd write 10 songs for his album. So he turned that corner of being an assertive, aggressive writer that really, really, really wanted to crank out the songs. This just take a second. This is kind of interesting. There was a sculpting class one time. The teacher divided in the middle. And she had one half of the class sculpt 100 sculptures during a semester. The other half did 3. At the end of the semester, some of the ones that did 3 were really great sculptors. I mean, great sculptures. But there were some great ones on the ones that did hundreds too. Great ones. But the main point is that it seemed like the ones that did 100 knew more about sculpting, because they did dogs, they did every kind of thing you could think about, where the other one just limited to 3. So I would be voraciously writing songs about anything that I could. Because when I was a kid, I wrote a song about a tree in the backyard where I buried my dog. I wrote about putting my hands in the sidewalk, and I wrote about playing my guitar up in the room. Well, Tom Douglas, those were 3 songs for me. Tom Douglas put all those 3 stories into one song. It's called The House That Built Me. So that's something that I think is very valuable. It's like understanding these little pieces are going to become one great song one day.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing he's saying is just write your butt off right now, right? Because you're at a learning stage, I would assume, where you need to go through the work in order to make your mistakes as fast as you can, learn the craft, learn about yourself in the craft, begin to collaborate and learn who you are in a collaboration with other people and how that works. Not so much to learn who's your good collaborator, but to learn what kind of collaborator you are. Mm-hmm. And write. A writer writes. It doesn't matter what you do for a living or where you come from or what you dress like. A writer writes. So are you a writer or are you not a writer? And every moment you've got to get better, use it to write another song. and treat it with a lot of self-discipline, and hold yourself to a high standard. Malcolm Gladwell talks about that 10,000 hours thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 10,000 hours, just to put that into vivid relief, you know, if I write 100 songs a year, on average, it's about 10 hours for me to write a song, in the sense that when we get together, we'll write for about 5 or 6 hours on the first draft. We'll get together again for 2 or 3 hours, and then we got to demo the song. And inside of the demoing process, you know, I think that the production of a demo, you're still writing it, you're tweaking the sounds and all that. So in the end, it's about 10 hours. I do that about 100 times a year. That's 1,000 hours. At that pace, which is a pretty high clip, that's a 10-year program before you get to a mastery, according to Malcolm Gladwell, of your craft. And my good friend Kris used to always say, time behind the pen. It's going to take time behind the pen.
And you got to be serious about doing it too. I mean, it can't be a part-time thing, or you know, if it's a hobby, it's a hobby. But if you want it to be a job, you got to do it full time. And like anything, if you do it enough, it creates its own gravity. You know, people are going to know you for you. Oh, he's a songwriter. You know, he writes great songs. They'll know you for that. You know, and you'll become an entity. You can make yourself an entity. But doing it part time and kind of things, you know, that's piddling. It's more of a hobby. You know, we do this as a job. We get up every day. Seriously, we write like 2 or 3 songs a day. All of us. I don't know about you, but we
4 songs a day.
Yeah, okay,
You know,
4.
You know, there's a friend of mine is a painter in New York, and he paints these great paintings. He's a sports artist, and they sell for $30,000 to $50,000 each. He spends 80 hours on a painting. Somebody says, like, Troy Aikman wants a 5x7 to hang in his house right by the stairs. He does it. The ones that are in just all kinds of places that have his paintings. And so we were talking about that one day, and he's spending 80 hours. And I thought about that a little bit, and I thought, like, you know what? Wow, a song is worth $800,000 or more, a hit song. You know, and I thought, I broke that down a little bit, like, you know, when's the last time I spent 80 hours? When's the last time any of you spent 80 hours writing a song? What's wrong? Don't you consider your time worth $10,000 an hour? You know? I mean, think about that. Isn't it worth it to just really look at that song and take 80 hours of your life to really like study every line, to get like a dictionary out and look at it and say, is this really the right word? Or is this the right melody? Sit on the piano and play it over and over and over. Like, could it be better? Could it be better just one time to see what you could accomplish? Because you might.
You know, one thing, I said this earlier, but I would take 10 of my favorite songs, and I would sit down with a pen, and I would, as a line goes by, stop, write the line down, just copy them down, and watch, and see the words, and it kind of, something happens when it passes through you. It's just a thing, it's really, I found it happened for me, man. That's really a strong way I learned how to write, and learned to, you know, and you can see the words and what they're saying and how they put it together, you know. It's really a good practice to do.
I want to say one more thing. You know, Greg said earlier,